So hi and welcome, and thank you taking time out to talk to me today. I'm very happy to have you here. Could you introduce yourself to everyone?
Sure, and thank you so much for having me. My name is Erin Chung. I am the executive director and founder of Women for Progress, which is a 501c4 political advocacy organization. We focus on women's rights, we focus on gun violence prevention, equality for all. We've got a whole bunch of stuff that we've tackled over the last 4 years, including LGBTQ rights.
Awesome. Before we jump into there, how do you personally relate to the LGBT community?
I'm an ally to the LGBTQ community. I've have many friends and I've got some family members who are part of the community. I also grew up in Eugene, Oregon, which is very open, friendly community, and was sort of raised to mind my own business and let people live and love who they want. And I now live in Montclair, New Jersey, which is a similar type of community with a similar vibe.
Awesome, thank you. And very much needed more people like you. so, um, so you do provide services with your organization for the LGBT community. Could you describe what those services are?
Yeah, I actually wanted to tell you about two things. As the executive director of Women for Progress, we've done Pride events each year. Usually, some kind of educational component where we teach folks how to be allies and teach them terms and appropriate pronouns and things like that that they may not be aware of. In my professional life, I work for Planned Parenthood of Metropolitan New Jersey, and actually, Bergen County is not part of our service area, but we just started offering in the fall gender affirming hormone therapy in our Patterson clinic, which is very close to Bergen County. Yeah. And I don't know that our sister affiliate in Bergen offers that yet. So we're probably one of the closest Planned Parenthoods to folks in Bergen County that need that service. But wow, since we started offering it, every appointment is booked, every appointment is full. We actually have submitted a couple of different grant applications to try to get more counselors on board so that we can serve more patients because the need is just explosive. And
This
we,
hair is racing on my arms as you're telling me this. This is
yeah, it's great.
amazing
And it's
news.
really been a source of pride for us because we realized there was a need. We took the steps to make sure that we could provide the service, and the feedback that we get from our clients is just incredible because it's affordable, it's accessible, and a lot of our clients were having to go either to the city or go to Pennsylvania, or travel to get this care. And now, within 20 minutes of Patterson, we've got people that can, take an Uber or hop on the bus and come visit us for this service. So it's pretty remarkable. And I hope the next time I talk to you that we can say we've expanded it, across other counties and that we've got more counselors that can offer it kind of
That
fun.
is all right. So a couple of things. See, the whole point of this, which is part of raising awareness, is myself included. When we would talk as LGBT people, and someone asks us what are the services, it's there is no services in Bergen County. There is nothing, which is not true. And this is what I'm learning. And this is what I'm hearing. But what I'm learning is there are services, but the information is not getting out to the people that need it.
Yeah.
So this is part of connecting those dots
Yeah.
and saying, okay, so this, whatever this may be, web page, there's going to definitely be a resource component to it, where it's like, okay, these are people that have these resources and these are the checks. So please forward me any information, all that kind of stuff, so I can put that on here.
Yeah.
So we can definitely sort people out there, because it's it's life or death for a lot of people.
It is.
It really is, and it's
And you shouldn't
really
have to
important.
search so hard to find a support system in your
Yes,
in your area. And although Patterson is Passaic County, it's right on the border,
yes,
there of Bergen County. But to your point, there's, like, for example, in Hudson County, there's the Hudson Pride Center, and it's chock full of resources. It's such a great organization, but that's, a 45-minute drive from someone in like South Bergen County. So it's
yes,
not necessarily the easiest, most convenient thing. There's transportation barriers, there's childcare barriers, all these things. You need services and the ability to get help right in your backyard. And it's
yes,
a shame that there's nothing in Bergen County, especially it's a big county. It's a really
yeah,
populous county.
yeah. And it's close to 1 million people in Bergen County. You know,
Mhm.
it's like 900,000 something. It's really, really close.
Yeah.
But to your point, with I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, there's one over there, or there's one over there." Like that's an excuse, but we need to have resources in our own backyard because those services are for Hudson County,
Yeah.
right? They're
Yeah.
not necessarily for Bergen County. If I want to go to a pediatrician, I'm not going to travel all the way to Hudson County to get a pediatrician when I can get
Right.
one that's 5 minutes from here.
That's
So
right.
there's that component to it as well. So help me out with this next question because, like I said, I'm not the best articulate. I'm not the most articulate person, the best articulate,
Yeah.
the most articulate person. And I don't want to come in this as confrontational.
Yeah.
But the fact is, there is no governing body for LGBT services. And we're finding often a lot of well-intended and not so well-intended people are putting the flag up and like therapists saying, hey, I'm a therapist and I can work with the LGBT community, right? And for whatever their motives. But when the actual service is provided, oh, they don't see the relevance of talking about their sex life, or they don't have the understanding if I've been raped, how being raped as a man or such like that,
Yeah.
and it becomes a problem. So when I ask about the services you provide, how do you determine that the services is going to meet the needs of the people, and this is suffice, or this is a good start, like how do you do that? And this is a genuine question because I'm like, I don't know the answer to those things.
Yeah, and I'll answer it with respect to Women for Progress and also with respect to Planned Parenthood.
Sure.
So for Women for Progress, first of all, we had an LGBTQ member of the community on our board, and so any educational program, we actually had a non-binary person, they were on our board, and then a woman and her wife were involved, and she was on our board. And so any education that we gave to a broader audience was approved by them. Was not that we put the entire onus on them to educate ourselves, but we made sure before it was presented to a bigger audience that it was appropriate, and that there was nothing offensive and that there was nothing missing. So I think making sure that if you're going to say that you're an expert in the area, do you have a credential? Do you have a certification? Are you part of the community? What's your, educational background? Like you said, you can't just like throw up a flag and then all of a sudden you're equipped to handle, issues that have nuance and that have sensitivity around them. So that's with Women for Progress. We also always try to align with other organizations that are experts in that area. So we've worked with Garden State Equality, with Women for Progress. At Planned Parenthood of Metropolitan New Jersey, we have a relationship with Garden State Equality. We have a relationship with Hudson Pride. We have a burgeoning relationship with the Trans Empowerment Project. But we also are fortunate that we have a national organization that kind of
Yes.
steers the mama ship. So we've got a reputation and a brand and a lot of really, really smart people that make sure that all of our medical services are appropriate and that our clinicians have sensitivity training and that they are completely qualified and ready to serve this population. Like before we rolled out the gender affirming hormone therapy, our clinicians went through really rigorous training to make sure that they were going to be putting our clients at ease and not making any in that situation when you're coming in as a trans person and you're transitioning and there's hormones and all of these emotions wrapped up in it. You can't have someone call you by the wrong pronoun or refer to you as your dead name. Like these are just things that would make someone never want to come back to us again for service. So
Yeah.
I do feel very strongly that we are qualified in both of the organizations that I work with to do that. But it requires work, it requires research and thought, and also not pretending that you're the expert on everything and reaching out to other folks that know the information to support the work.
It's like a breath of fresh air. Thank you so much for all that. No, honestly, I mean, I've been asking this. I started this project 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was just getting off of COVID, and it's really, I just got over being sick with COVID, and it was during those fevered, COVID brain that I came up with this idea. And then 2 weeks ago, I was like, I'm going to really do this. And
Yeah.
then a week ago, I started doing these videotapes, and I'll show you. It's a work in progress. The web page. I'll connect it to you, and you can
Yeah.
look at any time. So you can, before I make it public, so you can decide that.
Great.
But my point is, when I talk to some people that are professionals, that question I ask you, and these questions are met with, I feel like you're being hostile. And it's like, what do you mean? I don't know. It's just, it is. We just do it. And it's like, I'm not trying to call anyone out under ignorance. I'm not doing like, got you kind of moment.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
are genuine questions that people
Sure.
from the community, this is the feedback I get. And this is the
Right.
feedback that my people are telling me that they want to hear.
I'll give
Um,
like a more basic level example. Like I'm a woman, I'm a 40, almost 42-year-old woman. I don't want to go to male gynecologists anymore. I want to go to a gynecologist that can talk to me about what menopause is like and what the hormone changes I'm going to be going through are like and what it's like now that I'm done having children. And I kind of liken, so now when I search for doctors, I only look for women doctors. Sorry, not sorry. If I was a member of the LGBTQ community, I would also make sure that I was only searching for practitioners and providers that could meet my need, that wouldn't judge me, that would ask me the right questions, that would give me the right resources and point me, towards other things that I need. So I don't think it's an offensive question at all. And I think it's actually a really important point. And I do want to tell you, although the Planned Parenthood I work for in my day job doesn't cover Bergen County, the sister affiliate does cover Bergen County, and they are so welcoming to the LGBTQ, and it's just a welcoming organization. But we offer HIV, STD testing, PrEP, free condoms, all different kinds of things where I would hope that a member of the community would feel really comfortable coming in and that they're not being judged about any of their, life choices or decisions. You love who you love. Let's just make sure we all do it safely. That's
yeah,
kind of the motto.
thank you.
And I
you know,
will share those resources with you so you can put them on the site too.
Yes, please, please. And I invite you to, look at it critically, because mind you, this is literally just me and my coworker
Mhm.
on our part-time, just being fed up with the world right now and saying there's no real reason why we shouldn't have these resources.
Yeah.
So my last question, well, actually I have like two, but my last real question is, what do you think the barriers are to having an LGBT center currently in Bergen County? And what do you think the reason why they haven't created one in the past? Why didn't they see this need and do something about it in the past?
I think that, but I have two answers for you. I think funding is always the number one response, right? Having a resource center requires labor, requires someone's time. If you have a physical location, it's going to require money. So that's probably one barrier. It also just may be that the right activist hasn't come along to set it up. I think there's probably folks that say, well, we've got statewide organizations like Garden State Equality that can provide resources to the entire state. But again, we're all nonprofits, and so we all struggle with resources. I would like to think that there's probably foundations or grant makers out there that would be interested in funding this work, especially since it seems like you could probably prove the need pretty easily if you look at the statistics. There's actually an article that just came out, I think today, I think I posted it on our Planned Parenthood social media, that more than ever, like the numbers of people describing themselves as part of the LGBT community is higher than ever. So watching that trend, and it's probably, I don't even know if that's like a fair way to put it, because it may be that folks have been a member for a long time but haven't felt comfortable identifying that way.
Exactly.
But given that that is the case and folks are identifying that way, let's get everybody, let's get people out of the closet and say, we're here and we need services, we need information, and make it easy and accessible and local for them,
Yeah.
which it sounds like is what you're trying to do.
Yeah. And I think the people in power, when talking about money, and I say this all the time, and I learned this from David Stewart. He's the person that coined chemsex, and he started the whole push on it. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the term chemsex.
No.
It's crystal meth, GHB. It's when people use drugs, they enhance the experience of sex.
Okay.
And in doing so, they're having lots of unprotected sex.
Okay.
And that's a real problem with the gay men in our community
Yeah.
currently in our backyard. It's happening, but people aren't looking at it. And they're seeing it's not much of a problem and it's not something to impact on the wider community.
Yeah.
But he rightfully pointed this out to me and I pointed out to others. You have someone that's having lots of unprotected sex, right? They become infected with HIV. Now, someone's going to have to pay, like the county's going to have to pay for that person's medicine for the lifetime, which comes out to about $1 million,
Yeah.
right? So wouldn't it be cost
Cheaper
effective?
to
Thank you.
yeah,
And the same with suicide and addiction and mental health. If we have 20 to 40% of homeless youth is LGBT,
yeah,
and so wouldn't it make sense to put stuff to prevent
yeah,
people falling down that rabbit hole?
yeah.
you know, you know,
One of the other, when you talk about the homeless population, one of the organizations that we worked with over the last 2 years through Women for Progress was the RAIN Foundation,
yeah,
which is it's an LGBTQ homeless shelter in East Orange, and I've met Elaine, the founder, several times. We've done some work with them, and it's just shocking they're the only ones. I don't know if they're the only ones in the state. I think they are, but they're certainly the only ones near here.
yeah,
And those beds are full. I mean,
yeah,
they're full. They're always, reaching out for more funding to try to get bigger and accommodate more people. But the need is real, and to your point with this project, the resources are scarce, and
yeah, exactly.
that's not right.
And one question you don't have to answer, and it's just in my head. Women for Progress, YWCAs, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I see the history of these programs as a retaliation to Christian male, and it's like, hey, it's not all about you guys. We have needs. It started out with like the divisions like men and women, and then but these organizations very quickly empower people of color, children, and expands. And I'm always thinking, what are your thoughts on gender now? Because now gender is becoming much more fluid. And are you going to include, are you going to say, is it just people identify as women, or are we including all the transgender community or the non-binary community? Are we going to claim them as our own? And are we going to start instead of making it just a binary issue, making it a much more expansive issue? And we're talking about the inequalities, like payment inequality or,
Well,
have,
it's interesting that you say that, because a couple of weeks ago, I can't remember who I was talking to, one of the people on our leadership team, and I said, I think at some point we might have to rethink our name. I mean, when we founded this organization, we had so much less information, and we were just not as educated as we are now about how limiting just saying woman or women is. And it is, I mean, even in our work with abortion care at Planned Parenthood, we try to kind of stay away from like saying birth control is for women or abortion care is for women, because it's just not the case. We serve, people who don't gender identify as women with birth control and with abortion care. So it's been an education for me. I'm not an expert by any means. I hope that we can just continue the conversation about that stuff. I think you're right that there is this like pivoting away from it's all about you, white older men. And I like that to some degree. But certainly there is a bigger, more diverse, interesting, population around us. And it's short-sighted and a shame to not kind of make sure that everybody has a seat at that table. But that's partly just learning too, right? Like, I mean, I came up with the name Women for Progress 4 years ago, and fast forward to 4 years, I think I might have called it something different. And that's still percolating in my mind. But I think it's, at least I'm thinking about it, which I wasn't.
no, thank you. I don't want to come across as like forget about women, because women have needs and they need their space and they need,
Right.
specific issues just like everyone else. But I often think for the larger organizations that are doing this work, and you know, they're always trying to reach out to the youth and be relevant and be current. It's like, well, maybe you might want to rethink the gender, because you're talking about gender issues, gender inequality. Well, that can be expansive. It doesn't just have to be about cisgendered women and cisgender men. It's like we're talking about gender. It should be gender across the board.
Yeah.
and let's expand that conversation. And that's just my thought.
Yeah.
Remember,
No,
it's
I
just,
think I think it's spot on, and I agree with you. And it was funny when we first started Women for Progress. I met with an activist. I don't remember her name. I haven't really run into her since, and she commented something about how our view was very heteronormative. And I didn't know the term at the time, and of course came home and looked it up, and was kind of like, that's not true. That's not how we are. Now, looking back 4 years, I'm like, well, that probably is how we came off. And maybe that is how we lived and we just didn't know any better.
yeah,
So I think people can change and they can, adjust and learn. But that's also like, I didn't go out and spend the last 4 years demanding that the LGBTQ community teach me about, you know, that community. I educated myself on a lot of it. I always had like touchstones that were friends or family that I could ask, things of. But in the same way that we don't ask women of color to teach us how to be anti-racist as a practice, I think a lot of the onus is on us to teach ourselves and get information and go to events that are, intended to educate us. And so we've been trying to do that. And maybe when I spoke to this person, I seemed very heteronormative. That's probably true. I didn't even know to kind of think about that then. And now I do 4 years later. So
well, thank you. Just literally, thank you from the bottom of my heart. So it's
I'm
a
so glad you
beautiful
asked.
conversation.
Yeah.
And this is a conversation I want people to hear from the community, because we don't know these services, and you just dropped a big bomb on a
I'm
lot of
gonna send
people.
you. I'm gonna send you some stuff because
Yeah.
as much as the community is looking for services, we're looking for patients. We have this stuff so that we can serve people.
And
So
that has been I've been saying this for years. It just doesn't make sense for people that have the ability to do this. It's like you're talking about not 5% of a a million people. That's thousands and thousands of people you can corner a market for for gender reaffirming services.
yeah,
And it's like it's great and it's needed for the community, and it's life, it's really life affirming for the community. But
yeah.
as a business aspect, you can really make a lot of money doing this too if you do it right.
Think
It,
about
you
the
know,
products.
but it's like the people, just to have the service to go there, they're going to have insurance. It's not going to be, there's a lot of people from different backgrounds. They're going to say, hey, I didn't know that, and they're going to come to you.
Yeah,
And it's not going to be just people at a disadvantage. It's going to be everyone,
yeah,
people with their own private insurance and such, which can only help, right? So I'm like, why is no one thinking about that and doing that?
yeah.
So
And by the way, when I send you some services, I'll also connect you with. Do you know Tracy Zer? She's the Bergen County Commissioner. Excuse me, formerly freeholder. Then they changed the title, but I'll connect you with her too. She's great,
if
total
you
ally for the community.
yeah, offline we can talk about connections with people. So I just want to make sure you know that this is going to be made public on a web page or something. I'll give you a link to it as soon as, like right now, I'll show you. I don't even think I have a URL, but I
Okay.
can show you the web page. And you can see where I'm going with that. And at any
Okay.
given time, if you feel like, hey, just pull it, it's done, and just give
I
me
will.
enough time to
Thank
do that.
you.
um, so yeah, I'm gonna. It's
Inviting me to chat, and
thank you.
I'm excited for you. It sounds like a really meaningful project and one that could really change people's lives. So it's really exciting. Good for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going
Yeah.
to end the recording now.
Okay.